Hello and welcome to another episode of NXT UK Weekly right here on the Powered 4 TV, YouTube and of course podcast. You can listen to us when you're on the go, on the move, out in the car, walking the dogs, doing the garden, although you won't want to be in the garden this sort of weather. It's been absolutely freezing, but I'm going to welcome my guest host, my buddy, my pal, Mr. Powered 4, John Scott, and Mr. DNA Pro Wrestling as well. I see that announcement was made earlier in the week. So how are you doing, my friend? How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Like everybody in the UK at the moment, the weather has taken a huge dip in terms of temperature, and I'll put an early disclaimer out. If you do, you may hear some fireworks going off in my neck of the woods. It is fireworks night, so expect some of them to be going off. If somebody wonders, no, there's no guns going off. It's just fireworks in the UK.
Yeah, we've had all the displays around our way. I think you've probably got it around yours, but it is fireworks night, bonfire night. Since we were last together, John, we've had Halloween and now bonfire night. The weather's turned. I know I've had to scrape the ice off my car the last couple of mornings.
That's a real telltale sign, mate.
But we are here. We're back talking another week of NXT UK. Another strong show, I've got to say. Another strong show. Some good talking points. Can't wait to get stuck into it with you. But we're still reeling off of last week's epic episode. I don't think last week's episode of NXT UK can ever be topped for what we got, especially that main event, possibly the greatest NXT UK match in history, one of the strongest matches in WWE history. It got 5 stars on the Dave Meltzer rating scale, and it's got a lot of rave reviews. There hasn't been a bad word said about that match. Walter versus Aleah Dragunov for the NXT UK Championship. Hell of a match. And like I say, I've gone back and seen it a few times myself, but what's your thoughts on the match looking back on it 1 week later?
I have not gone back on it at all yet. Despite all the grave reviews, I've watched it that one time, which was last week, and I haven't, not that I haven't wanted to or anything like that, but I haven't, gone back and had a second look at it. And sometimes you do see a lot of different things the second time round. But when you're watching it afresh, it's a bit different. But, even the great Jim Cornette come out, and who's very critical of a lot of new stuff these days. Even he praised it. He said it was like how wrestling should be in the modern age. This is the best sort of modified version of it. So, like, Jim Cornette, he pulls no punches with these things. When you've got a guy like that giving it praise as well, it was a good match. And it is fantastic for NXT UK especially, because it really puts some more eyeballs. And the great thing about it is it's one of those things, it's like people are talking about it, not for the storylines, not for the who's coming in stuff, but actually for a match. And I think that's like speaks volumes. You don't get that enough on WWE TV in general. So when it does come around, I always think it's a good indicator of how well, a quote-unquote development promotion in the UK is doing. And Walter, can't say enough good praise about him as I did last week, but also, Dragunov as well. But both those two guys, whoever had a hand in putting that together as well backstage, kudos to them. It's a fantastic match, and it'll be hard to top that at the back end of 2020, quite frankly. I wouldn't imagine it's going to happen.
Yeah, it's going to be up there in a lot of people's best of matches of the year 2020. And there's been a few really good matches, but that one's going to be up there for me as well, to be honest with you. And we've said this time and time again, John, about NXT UK. The beauty of this show is it's generally only 1 hour, typically a bit shorter than 1 hour. Last week went a bit over, but typically around about 55 minutes, 60 minutes maximum. It's got usually 3 solid matches every single week. There's no kind of shenanigans or dirty play or funny run-ins or silly gimmicks. It tends to be 3 good wrestling matches, bell to bell. That's what you're going to get every single week from NXT UK, just an hour long. And if you like your wrestling and you like your storylines kind of prolonged and built, and, so some really, really good build to storylines and some excellent matches, NXT UK is the one for you. Would you agree there, John?
Absolutely, yeah. I always say this, it's very nice, easy consumption, digestible wrestling, as I call it. Closest we've had to it, in the past has been that NWA Power, but since then, this is the NXT UK really can deliver it, and it's a nice weekly dose of wrestling and progressive storylines. because again, I keep reiterating this, but we don't have scheduled takeovers, so there's no pinnacle moment going to come up. So stuff can happen, big, small, at any time, which is even better. So yeah.
Yeah, well, before we jump into this week's show, I just want a little bit of a plug for an interview that I've done recently with John Bullard from Chicagoland Championship Wrestling. So it's going to be, you've got the full video version of that interview with myself and John Bullard on the YouTube channel. So, like I say, after watching this, hit subscribe, hit like to this video, scroll down, see the interview with John Bullard, and catch that one. It's also available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast, on the brand new Powered 4 podcast channel as well. So go and check that out. What a
story as well in that interview, you know, by the way, how he got in. It was quite fascinating.
An amazing story, all the way from when he was a 16-year-old through to now. He's had 20 years in the business, and like I say, he's doing great things with Chicagoland Championship Wrestling. But let's have a look at this week's show then. We won't kind of drag it out any longer, John. The match opened with your favourite hairdo in the business. Sam Gradwell came out Mohican or Mohawk. I don't know how it's described. It's not exactly a modern haircut, but he pulls it off as well as any man can, I suppose. Alongside Pretty Deadly, this match was set up last week against Gallus. Now, the returning Joe Coffey, we haven't seen the Iron King for 7 months, John, alongside his brother Mark Coffey, Wolfgang, the NXT UK Tag Team Champions. So a nice little match to kick things off. Usually the opener to all of our NXT UK matches shows are pretty good, and this one was no exception, to be honest with you. And I've got to say, Sam Gradwell looked great. Looks like he's definitely been working hard in the gym. He's been out with an injury for the last 2 years. Looks pretty good here. Mohawk as well. I've also got to say, Sam Stoker, Lewis Howley, Pretty Deadly, looked very, very good when they were in the ring also. But it was all about Joe Coffey. When Joe Coffey, the Iron King, got that hot tag, finally made his way into the match, it was pretty much all said and done, and it only took one best for the bells by Joe Coffey to pin Sam Gradwell and to win the match for Gallus. So, well, John, like I say, another cracking match to open this week's NXT UK, but did Pretty Deadly, in your opinion, do enough to earn themselves a potential championship shot down the line to Gallus? And do you think Sam Gradwell picked a fight with Joe Coffey he really wishes he hadn't?
Well, the answer to the first part of that question, I mean, Pretty Deadly. Look, I think these two guys, you know, have got it all. Both tag team and singly as well. I gave high praise last week just on that backstage part that, you know, the photo went around everywhere, that little moment that stood out the test of time. But yeah, I mean, both those guys are excellent. You know, they're really polished. They're really smooth operators in the ring. Like, you know, they're really good at that. And this was a nice little test to see, you know, them in action and 3-on-3. I still
don't think we've seen everything from Pretty Deadly.
I
think they're keeping their cards back close to their chest. I think you know, give them a good 10-minute match, and I think we'll see a lot more from them.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot more from them. I remember talking to them this time last year, in fact, at a local show, and one thing they really tried to fire home at me was they wanted to bring tag team wrestling to the forefront. That's all they wanted to do. They didn't want singles anymore. They wanted to just do tag teams. They wanted tag team matches on at the main event. And I think that, like, that mentality, that ethos, they've gone in with that in hopefully in NXT UK, and they've tried to promote that and plug that to the higher ups. And I hope that one day, you know, they do potentially get that moment of becoming champions, and when they get it, they then look to have that influence. But it was a good outing. I enjoyed this match. Again, one thing I'll say, a small thing and ridiculous as well to many, I'm sure, but the entrance music, I can't stand that Pretty Deadly. It's pretty awful, in my opinion. It's just so generic, that bloody music. And you know, even Gradwell didn't have his own tune, so I was like, oh no. But yeah, I would like it a bit more spiced up. They've got to have like a Tyler Bate type flavour going on. I'm sure that would work. But yeah, overall, great match. I enjoyed it. You know, Sam Gradwell, I mean, I think in the long run, I think there's going to be, I'm presuming they're going to go further with a feud as well with him. And I suppose, you know, that's going to be one of them. Maybe I think we haven't seen him in a long time either. I mean, you said last week that he hadn't been on for God knows how long, since like the first NXT UK.
He's been out with
tournament.
an injury for the last 2 years, John.
Two guys that have not been totally active up until that point. So I'm sure they'll take it easy. This is probably why it was a little bit of smoke and mirrors with the 3-on-3 and an easier way to bring back some of these guys. But yeah, it was showcased. I felt around Gallus a bit, showing their dominance. So they certainly want to put that over on screen. And good match. Can't say fairer than that. It certainly wasn't terrible. And done what it was supposed to do. These matches, you don't want them. You can't have every match 5 stars. You need these matches in there, and this was just a good outing for me for both teams. A little bit of progression, so we'll see where it goes. Interesting that like you, I kind of feel until Pretty Deadly start picking up some wins, I don't think we should probably think about them, achieving too much just yet. But they are definitely a team for the future, no doubt about it.
I hope so, and I just want to see them in that good 10, 15-minute match where we can really see what they can do and kind of let them kind of go at it and give us the full Pretty Deadly treatment. But then we get a flashback to last week. I think it was last week or maybe the week before, where the Hunt attacked Flash Morgan and Mark Andrews, with Eddie Dennis seemingly the puppet master of NXT UK and certainly controlling the Hunt or being behind them at the moment. Then we get to our first glimpse of Rampage Brown stepping through into NXT UK Performance Centre for the first time, John, moments before signing his NXT UK contract. And just as we said last week, John, Rampage Brown is one of the premier performers, one of the premier wrestling talents in the UK, and could very easily be a leading contender. Pretty much from the first bell, from his debut, you could say he's pretty much polished in the finished article. I think he's going to be a contender from the off. But Rampage Brown seemed happy to be there, and I think he's going to debut on NXT UK very soon.
Yeah, next week, in fact. So
next week, awesome.
We found that, but yeah, I mean, it was good to see him there. I don't know. I'm fascinated to see what NXT UK position Rampage at the minute. Everyone's presuming he's going to be at the high end. I don't know if that's just going to be a 1-2 week kind of scenario or a small little feud to bring him in just to get that impact, that buzz. But I'm more fascinated to see where he lies after that, when the ripples kind of fade away, where is his position in NXT UK? And that'll be the big test there, I think. I hope that it's just not going to be one of those things where it's come in, boom, impact, and next thing is just sort of the guy who's just experienced and is going to become the guy that you've got to go through to get to the next level.
They're giving him the star treatment at the moment, though.
They are at the moment, but I've seen it before. So I'm hoping Rampage deserves it all. He's definitely a class act. He can definitely pull off at the top, there's no doubt about it. But I just got a feeling that it might be an impact boom, and I hope I'm wrong. But we'll see what happens next week. Really looking forward to seeing what presentation. I don't suspect. I had a few people ask me, and they said, do you think WWE are going to mess with Rampage? Are they going to give him some crazy, over-the-top gimmick? I really, really doubt it. I think Rampage in his career, he's been around on the indies for so long. He knows who he is. I think WWE got Rampage for Rampage. I don't think they got him to come in and play a wizard type character or a police guy coming in out of nowhere.
I hope
not. Well, now maybe made it. Yeah. Probably tarnished that now, but yeah, hopefully all good things for him. So look forward to seeing that next week.
No, very good. And then one of your favourites, Jinny, was in action next against Aleah James. Now, I understand kind of reading various pages on the internet that Aleah James is relatively new. She only started training at the back end of last year, so maybe she's 12 months in and she's already wrestling in a WWE ring against one of the best, against Jinny. Now, this was nothing more than a masterclass on display here from Jinny, in my opinion. She laid in a beating to the newcomer. I'm not sure about you, John, but this was the vicious side of Jinny. I don't think we've seen before. I don't think we've ever seen her this kind of vicious and this kind of hard hitting, with Jinny executing her rolling Liger kick to put James away for the easy win. But a lot of the talking points is what happened after the match, after the match, Jinny gets on the microphone. She says that she's got something new that the other girls have not gotten. That's a killer instinct. And then we get to Piper Niven comes out. She has a face-to-face with Jinny. And then the champ, Kaylee Ray, comes out to mock both Jinny and Piper Niven. Kaylee Ray throws a chair into the ring and challenges the two women to show their killer instinct on one another. And it's Piper Niven who rises to the challenge by smashing the chair across the back of Jinny before destroying Aleah James and then hitting Jinny with an awesome Piper driver across the chair before going after the champ for a backstage brawl. John, at first we thought that we saw a new side of Jinny. We did see a killer instinct and a new side of Jinny. I don't think we've seen her as vicious as this before, but then looks like we seen a new side of Piper Niven as well, as she seems to have a bit of a vicious streak to her, and this feud between Piper Niven and Kaylee Ray looks to be continuing.
Yeah, plus on killer instincts, a minus on reflexes, I suppose. She didn't see it coming, but yeah, I mean, it's good. First of all, the match, I thought was excellent. I don't think it's that Jinny's changed her moveset or anything like that, but what she does have in abundance at the moment is presence. You can really see that the way she's doing the little subtle things, a little bit slower in areas. You see her arguing with the referee as well, don't tell me what to do, this kind of stuff, and the rules. Little things like that go a long way. Again, this isn't like one of those matches we're going to remember. This isn't about her, having these tremendous matches just yet. This is just about her character still building and building. I was a little bit disappointed towards the end because I was like, maybe I was anticipating Jinny as the next, challenger, but then again, I don't want it to come too early. So I'm content to wait for that down the line. I'm pretty certain that's going to happen.
She's in the picture. She's in the frame.
Picture, that's for sure.
But they keep giving Piper Niven the title shots,
they go
and
back
it does
to that.
appear that Jinny's being overlooked.
They do. They go back to that. So that's a fascinating one. I would imagine Jinny will be involved in that storyline in any case, as a kind of third member in all that. One thing I did have to point out, and it was the first time I noticed it. I don't know why I didn't notice it. I don't even know if it was in the first match, but I was going to ask you this, John, as the voice of reason over there, the man that you are with your wrestling knowledge. But there was some screens going on with fans.
Wow, I was going to mention the same thing, John. It's like the Thunderdome has gone to the BT Sports Studios.
Now,
what's going on?
My question to that is, the problem is when that come on, I tuned out of the bloody match, and I had to go back and watch it again because I was so fascinated to see whether those fans were legit or they were just taken from a Thunderdome screening, because they didn't look like they were reacting to what was going on.
I can't see how that could be legit. I can't.
Yeah, I wondered if you could shed some light there.
Pre-recorded, isn't it? So
yes, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So basically now WWE, not only have we got a fake noise, we've got some announcer we never see who she is. We just hear her voice like a computer game. But now we've got faces coming up who have probably been on SmackDown or Raw or maybe NXT cheering for something else. I thought that was quite interesting, and I don't know. Is it even worth having that, really? And in tapings, I don't know.
It took me out as well. I mean, at least it kind of gives a little bit of an explanation to where the crowd noise is coming from. Although it doesn't, we know that they're not. But yes, I mean that could have been from a Raw, 6 weeks ago. They just copied and pasted it into NXT UK, and there you go. But I can see what they're trying to achieve. Because we said that there's obviously no fans in the BT Sports Studios like they do have at the moment in NXT, and they've got a huge Thunderdome for Raw and SmackDown. So they're trying to add a bit more atmosphere. They're trying to add a bit more character and a bit more presence to the BT Sports Studios. Not that they needed it. They certainly didn't need it last week, so I don't know why they need it this week. But they're trying new things. So you kind of got to give them credit for that. But I was going to ask exactly the same thing, John. I don't think it worked. It kind of took me out of the match. But we'll see how that develops.
I guess the only way they could have done it in the taping centre, if they're like family members of some of the talents in there or staff, that's a possible way of doing it. But I mean, would they have had that foresight, and why has it only just come on now? Would be my only question to that. Unless they had a couple of days and they thought, what we need to spice it up a little bit. So I'm fascinated now to see next week. I know it's a real ridiculous thing, maybe one of our our viewers out there, our listeners on the podcast can drop us a comment or whatever and let us know. But I have not seen any emails going from WWE.com or anything like that to sign up and go on. So that was why I threw that out there. Anyway, back to the real stuff.
Well, speaking of the real stuff, John, we're going to take a little bit of a look at Powered 4 TV and a few reasons why you should be signing up to Powered 4 TV right now.
A singles outing for the tag champ, and what a match this is going to be for Pat. What a test.
The man that gravity forgot against the phenomenal one.
So there we go, John, and you might want to remind us of this promo code that we've got. We've been shouting about it the last few weeks, but if anybody wants to save themselves a few pennies or a few pounds on their first month's subscription to Powered 4 TV, what do they need to do?
It's very, very simple. Go on to powered4.tv, sign up, and where your details are being input, use the promotional code, and it's literally one word of powered, all in capitals, powered, all in capitals, 50% off your first month, and you know, really, really good deal. Like I always say, just go over there anyway, go and have a look. There's nothing hidden. Everything is there. There's a lot more up there, by the way. You would have just seen that in that promotional video that we've just shown. There's a lot of new stuff just come on board. You know, we're really looking forward to more stuff, as John has mentioned at the top of the show. You know, he recently interviewed Chicagoland promoter, and we've got a show from them coming on, which I'm really, really looking forward to seeing, because I have to say, my fan in me really wants to see that show. I just loved the way they've shot it, the look of it, the studio setup. Being an old school buff that I am, you know, it's really ticking a lot of boxes for me. So I'm really behind that. But again, we've got other things. Reach is now there, of course, as well. Ignite Wrestling. Again, you've interviewed. So you're becoming the interviewer of the international overseas here. That's why I'm starting to get a familiar pattern here. It's all about Jonas with that. But yeah, loads of good stuff on there. Of course, original content and more added classics this week. From the likes of Rocco's up there as well, and Owen Hart, you know, Juicing Thunder Liger, the Bushwhackers, you know, got to get them in there, of course, every week. More 1PW as well has just gone up there. We've got 2 nights worth of that's just gone up. So you know, some great tag team, 2 nights, Know Your Enemy, and there's a really good batch of wrestlers involved. Christopher Daniels, AJ Styles, Christian Cage is on there, the NWA champion at the time, up against Steve Corino. And yeah, you'd be really mind blown about some of the guys that are available for those 2 nights that they had their pick off. So go and check all that out. Again, with everything else, the likes of TNT Extreme, which you cannot go wrong, and they've got a lot of. If you enjoy NXT UK, go and watch TNT Extreme. There is a whole flood of guys that wrestled for that promotion. So yeah, check it out. Powered4.tv. Use the promotional code POWERED, all in capitals, 50% off.
Yeah, go and check it out. And even if you're not sure about signing up straight away, go and check. There's a lot of free content on there. You won't be disappointed. Check out the free content, and that will be enough for sure to make you want to sign up and use that promo code to save yourself 50% off your first month. Let's go back to the show then, John. We're straight into the main event already. 2 of your picks in the same match, semi-final, Noam Dar, A-Kid for the Heritage Cup. Yeah, we've had the Heritage Cup now. It seems like the Heritage Cup's been going for a lifetime, but we're only into the first semi-final. And, we're talking about A-Kid and Noam Dar at the very beginning as possible contenders. One of these we're going to go through to the final. Let's talk about it now. And in my opinion, I still think the A-Kid Flash Morgan Webster match was the best first round match. And here we are, like I say, Noam Dar, a very, very experienced veteran. I think he's probably still in his 20s, which is hard to imagine against kind of a relative newcomer A-Kid. But he's been around the block on the UK and European scene for a few years now. But there's a tense final minute of the second round, John, when A-Kid puts Noam Dar into a step over crossface. We thought he was going to get a tap out. We didn't quite, but it was Noam Dar who did get the first fall from an Uma platter of his own submission at the end of the third round. Both men were going through a battle, John, in this one. It was a battle with A-Kid levelling things up with a bridging, pinning combination in the fourth round. And this match was fast and furious, and it went through the fifth round and into the sixth round with dueling kicks, stiff clotheslines, and incredible final round. A-Kid clamps on an Uma platter of his own with Dar furiously tapping out. And the third fall went to A-Kid to win the match, 2 falls to 1, and it's A-Kid who progresses through to the final. He's the first finalist of the Heritage Cup. So I really enjoyed this match. It topped off this episode really, really well as far as I'm concerned. Some great action, some awesome pace, some vicious offense from both Dar and A-Kid, and a dramatic final round, which is everything we kind of want from a match such as this. I think both of these wrestlers, put in a hell of a shift, and I absolutely love this match. But it kind of built and built and built. We've talked about these Heritage Cup matches. It does kind of give you kind of a particular match format that does allow it to build and kind of get you to a crescendo. But give us your thoughts on this one.
Yeah, it wasn't. I think I had a little bit more anticipation going into this match. I thought it was going to be. I don't know. I was expecting something different. I felt like they really tried to get you to the end. It was all about the climax. I would say, this is just my own opinion, they didn't probably do the best job in getting there, in my opinion, which isn't much. But I felt like the pace was a little bit off to get you there. By the time we were there, I don't know. I just felt like it didn't have enough for that final climax for me anyway. Little bits in it. I mean, again, the whole round thing is odd. I got a couple of notes here that I think after the first round, I think one of them was on the outside anyway, and then the bell goes. Like there are always moments where like it's already taken out and the pace is off anyway. So it's like you're not really breaking up anything. And there was a lot of that. So a little bit disappointed there. And the whole rounds thing anyway, I'm not going to keep going on about it because it's just like a broken record. A-Kid winning, I have to say, listen, if A-Kid, I said whoever wins this is winning the whole thing. I stake that money on it now, mate. A-Kid is winning this 100% in my opinion.
I think they see a new top babyface in A-Kid, don't they? They really do see a new top star in him.
And a couple of our fans, they said to me, am I stupid or something? Because at the beginning of the whole thing, A-Kid was just plastered all over it on the posters. I obviously didn't see these posters, but by all accounts, he was the most focused point. It was almost like everything was a blur but he was the main guy, and I have not seen those, but apparently it seemed very obvious. So, I've certainly been not as sort of sold on that from the beginning, I have to say, which I'm glad about, because that would have made it even worse for this experience. But A-Kid is there, we'll see. If he is the guy to get this, I think it's got to be done really smart in how you get this guy over. Obviously, there's no fans there. You can't read and gauge if this guy would get over with fans or whether they'd kind of feel a little bit force-fed with him. So it's hard to do at the moment without a crowd there and just those noises coming in. They can only get feedback from the guys watching them. So from my point of view, watching it, I do feel like they've got to be careful because you don't want him to come across too glorious, and it's always the sort of underdog thing until the end. So we'll see how it goes. But I would absolutely put money on it. A-Kid for me wins the whole thing. I'd be shocked if he didn't. Trust me.
Well, we got one more semi-final to go, John, and that's going to be next week. And it's Trent Seven, the elder statement of Mustache Mountain, of course, going up against the Bomber, Dave Mastiff. That's going to be an incredible match, a different type of match. Unlike this match with A-Kid and Noam Dar, which was quite athletic, quite fast-paced, lots of stiff strikes. Next week, you're going to get a bit of a bruising battle, I think. And, it's going to be an interesting one. It's going to be a tense match. I don't know. If I were to predict a winner, I probably would say Trent Seven for his experience and his name value. I think he can pull off a win there. But then the Bomber is a pretty tough cookie, and you've got to be on your game to beat him on any given day. But any thoughts on who might face A-Kid in that final?
My heart is Dave Mastiff, and always would be in that case, because I'm very keen on the guy, and I think he's a very undervalued at the moment. I think he could be a massive old school type heel if used properly, like a bit of a monster. But I got a feeling they're going to go with this kind of like passing of the torch in the finals between Trent, and I got a feeling there might be this hug moment. And
you can see it now, can't you?
Yeah, I can. And unless there's a low blow in there at the end, I'll be quite disappointed. So, I definitely don't see Trent Seven winning the whole thing. I said that from the beginning. I don't see the purpose in that. But so if Dave Mastiff pulled off something, again, I'd be very shocked. So I do see Trent Seven getting to the finals now, and there almost been that sort of trade-off of like, you have the torch, you go on and be the new guy, and that's what it'll be. I mean, I could even picture them becoming a kind of a team after it for a little while and taking him under his wing. That's where I see this going. But we'll see.
Yeah.
But
I'm inclined to agree. I'm inclined to agree with what you said.
But the match, you can't take it from the. I mean, for what it was, it's definitely one of the best Heritage Cup matches we've had. I was expecting a little bit more for the semis, but I think they've got this clear vision in sight of how they want this to go. For Noam Dar, my guy, the guy I said was a dark horse. Interested to see where he goes from here. Obviously, he's kind of a dastardly heel. There's a lot of good stuff he can still do. I just hope he gets some good stuff to sink his teeth into, because he's a really good vicious type heel when he wants to be, and I'd like to see him in some more programs.
I'd like to see Noam Dar go up against Jordan Devlin. I think that would be a cracking match. Yeah. That would be an amazing match, and they could have it as an unofficial cruiserweight championship match. Yeah. But that could be a great match between two similar sized wrestlers, but a great dynamic, I think, between the two. Great chemistry. But I wouldn't mind seeing them two in the ring together. I think Trent Seven is going to win next week, and he's going to be there to give A-Kid the match of his life. But there's going to be that rocky moment for A-Kid, I think, in a few weeks' time at that final, and I think he's going to come out the victor. But we shall find out, and you'll find out all about it and our thoughts on a future episode of NXT UK Weekly. But John, I ask you every single week. Last week was a solid sky-high thumbs up for me and from you because of that main event. But this week, like I say, a bit of a come-down show. Where's your thumb? Up, down, in the middle?
Well, before I do that, I should point out, I do want to mention Eddie Dennis during this. I know he had a point of where he was talking about what he'd done. I quite enjoyed that as well, that little segment. Yeah. That was pretty cool. And I'm glad they're still giving... it's got to be one of the longest going storylines they've had since the first episode, and it's nice. It's interweaving. It's not, being forced down you. They spoke a little bit about it in the first match, which I was happy about from the commentators with Pretty Deadly and what was going on, but they didn't make it obvious. They're not just going to tell us and reveal it, which is good. As a show, obviously we're coming off of like one of the best matches in WWE, maybe in wrestling, for the last 6 months at least, that we've seen with no fans. In my opinion, that was the best match without fans. So it was only ever going to go one way. I say this one for me, I think because of the ending, I'm going to sit right in the middle. I'm going to play it sitting on the fence, right in the middle. I've still not given a thumbs down just yet, because I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt because of last week, how good last week was. You can't have, every week being like that, because then, it gives no purpose for the big show. So, no, for me, thumbs in the middles.
And I've got to agree. At the end of this show, I thought it was a solid thumbs in the middle from me. Like I say, a bit of a come down episode from last week, and I think that's possibly what we needed. There was nothing bad on this week's episode, but then at the same time, there was nothing great or nothing that's going to get you jumping out of your chair. I did enjoy the main event, like I say, I thought the opening 6-man tag was good. It was what it is, and like I say, it does possibly set up future storylines down the road.
What's happened to the hand? I feel like we need to do a missing person here.
That's another reason why I think we're both going thumbs in the middle, because there was no mysterious...
If I'd have seen that...
Oh, it'd have been a solid thumbs up.
That would have been a solid thumbs up, yeah.
Next week. If we don't see that hand next week, we'll have to start a campaign.
Yeah, that's what I mean, we will. Where's the hand?
But John, that pretty much draws us to the end of this week's NXT UK Weekly. It's been great hosting with you again. Can't wait to do it all again next week to talk more NXT UK on the WWE Network. Before
we go, we should say that next week is a big week for yourself. In terms of your anniversary, your 2-year anniversary. We've got shows coming left, right and centre. I said a couple of weeks back you're going to be busy.
I know.
Looking forward
how am I going to fit it all in?
I know you and I are doing a show as well, so along with Mike Angus, so I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, it kicks off Sunday with a bit of an AEW Full Gear pay-per-view review with members of The Brood from the Turnbuckle Arms and one of my podcasting friends, Mags. I can't remember exactly what order it's all happening in, but we got 2 best of episodes where we count down our viewers' choice favourite interviews of all time. 10 through to 6, and then our top 5 episode later on in the week. And then, of course,
by the way, I'm just going to cut in there. If I'm not voted, I'm going to be very disappointed right now. Okay.
But I can't remember if you were actually on the poll, but you can always vote for yourself, I suppose, John. And then, of course, as you rightly said, there's myself, you, and Mike Angus. We're going to be doing the greatest Intercontinental Champions list of all time. And capping off the week with my interview, and that's going to be really, really awesome with Adam Maxted, of course. So lots to look forward to there, and of course the season finale of Wrestling for TV. So check all that out.
You remembered all that.
Only just. But there we go.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. It'll be really good, and really put people over to the Jonas podcast as well on YouTube channel. Let's get them over there. It's going to be a great week. Can't wait for it. And of course, check him out on Powered 4. We're going to have you right at the top next week, so you'll see him. Don't you worry. I'll make sure his ego's intact for 1 week. Don't you worry.
But most importantly, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Don't forget to hit a like to this video, and like I say, don't forget to check us out next week for more NXT UK Weekly.
Well, he is a brute of a man.
Representing Ring Camp, as you can see, he's the current PWG World Champion. Our
champion is also a fashion guru. Who knew?
Here's the challenge of the evening. Hold out the PWG Championship. He is hailing from Vienna in Austria. This is the Ring General, Walter. He's the current reigning and defending TNT World Champion. Ladies and gentlemen, Joseph Connors.
Well, against Wolfgang, He was against a man.
This is the biggest test that Joseph Connors has ever faced.
Took on all comers.